Hey, welcome to the new blog type setup thing. This is the first, well, actually, I was about to lie. This is the second attempt I've made at trying to get the blog up and running. The idea is to do my old blogging thing like I used to do, kind of have a little bit of fun with it and do it via videos rather than type it all out all the time. The kind of cool part is that there's no editing involved in this, and I can just kind of stream of consciousness it without having to worry about spelling and everything else. Um, Welcome to the new Midnight Ryder Technologies Studio. You see all of the crap in the background. Well, this is this was kind of a planned idea quite a while back. Eventually, I was going to give up my little office space I had in the house and move it out to the garage. And but in the process, was going to get the garage, make it look nice, and all this good stuff. Well, we had a friend of ours have a heart attack. So yeah, it's like, okay, well, hey, why don't you come stay with us? So we gave him my old office, and in a very very quick uh, process, I moved out here. So I had all the stuff from my workshop that was out here, all the stuff for my workout area, and now all the stuff for my office in here. So it's a very slow process of trying to get everything put together. My desk area is not nearly as bad as the area behind me. You can see a pile of stuff. Um, Eventually, we'll get all that taken care of. But it's a process of slowly but surely sorting through all of it. And the area behind me will actually become a permanent green screen. What will happen is this stuff that's behind me, the deep freeze will get moved basically out of frame. The shelving units will actually get put on casters so that when it comes time to shoot, you just grab the shelving units, move them out of the way, boom, there's the permanent green screen right behind me, and then I can do this from Paris or France or what have you. Actually, for the work in progress videos, um, which is part of the reason for setting up green screen, besides the fact that it's kind of fun, um, is part of the work in progress stuff. I want it to look a lot more professional, a lot cooler than this. This, yeah, kind of junky. Um, but with that, I'm going to do some cute little things like it's various sci-fi backgrounds. So I may show up one day on the bridge of the Enterprise, or somewhere in the TARDIS. Who knows? But part of the game, I kind of hope, is that people will try and figure out where the heck I'm supposed to be this time. Um, and there's so many sci-fi sources to work from. It could be kind of fun, or it could just be boring and stupid. Hard to tell. But in the process of all this, it actually gave me a whole bunch of room and starts accomplishing some of the goals that I have for Midnight Ryder Technologies. Um, One of the goals is just do internship and mentorship from here. Have a couple of computers so that yeah, can work with people on game development. There's enough people that would like to get into the field. I'd like to see about teaching them an end-to-end process. There's a number of colleges here in Wichita that actually do it, and I'm actually on the advisory steering committee board for Butler's interactive 3D program, which includes game development and other uh, technology development areas. But classes only go so far. Hands-on experience, on the other hand, is a lot more important. So, yeah, I think it would be an awesome idea to be able to contribute to the community this way. Plus, it does have the added bonus, when you're working with internships, that means it's a couple more hands that are helping out. They're getting a lot of education and credit and et cetera, in exchange. But it still ends up helping me in the end, too. I like win-wins. It's always nice. Um, yeah, so this is the space, and eventually it's going to look a whole lot nicer. Um, these things, by the way, aren't particularly scripted. I'm Google forces me to put a title in before I start. I suppose I could just put the title date, but it requires a title and a description and blah 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 and keywords and all sorts of stuff. Problem is that it's a blog, and I mentioned it's stream of consciousness, so I put quitting smoking and quitting caffeine and the new studio, I think, was the stuff I put on here. Not exactly earth shattering. Excuse me. But they can wander. And part of the reason for doing these, one, it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. I actually already generate about 2 hours of video every week because of First Geek Congregation. I also have the work in progress videos that I do that I haven't done in the last 2 weeks because of, well, this mess back here. It's hard for me to feel like I'm showing something professional with this much junk. I suppose I could do something different with it. I just haven't figured out what. Um, but originally, my blog often acted as a test platform for different plugins for WordPress, or prior to WordPress, for different methodologies for doing blogs and for doing content management. Um, the videos are going to be the same way. This is based off of Cam Twist with Siphon and a couple of little things here and there, so that eventually anything I come up with new that I want to test out, I'll test it out on here, and see how it works, see what it looks like on YouTube, and see if it works. And there's the problem with this setup is it does require a little bit of ahead of time work, and things like the little fancy intro requires that I have to have designed it, set down, created something cool, and then release it. But there is some spontaneity to it. Like, for instance, I can do this. Say I wanted to show a picture. Oops. Boom. And make that live. Okay, it required a little bit more effort than I planned on, and it didn't actually show up the way it should. There. In case you can't read that, it says sometimes it's okay to feel sorry for the zombies. But it means that I can do kind of cool stuff on the fly, and even have the professional little effects like the cross dissolves and blah blah blah. And as time goes on, as I get new stuff, this will be where I test it out at. Some of the stuff I'd like to do, for instance, is I'm using the iSight camera on a Mac. It's not even the most current Macs, so it's one time that's pretty awesome for a webcam, but nowadays it's actually pretty dated. It's also at a horrible angle, so I'm having to look up, which the camera coming down on you. You don't want the camera pointing down on you. You don't want the camera pointing up at you at too deep of an angle. Either one will make you, gain weight very quickly. And I've got a preview window right here, and it looks absolutely horrible. Now, I can't say I'm the most handsome guy in the world to start with, but yeah, definitely adds some extra weight. So eventually, there'll be a replacement webcam that's better quality. I actually already have one for First Geek Congregation that I use that's mediocre quality at best. So, what about that whole smoking? Since I'm sitting here with an e-cig, it's been, let's see, yeah, about 48 hours since I've smoked, and it's been 7, 8, 9 days since I've had caffeine. See, I gave up caffeine because I was having a hard time sleeping at night. I couldn't get wound down. And I'm not real good at self-moderating. The idea of, I'll just have one tea a day. See, that's the thing about it. Only thing I was drinking was tea. I don't drink soda. I don't do sugary drinks for the most part. It's pretty rare. I don't do pop at all because I gave it up years ago because, I was a pretty heavy addict on energy drinks and Pepsi. We're talking like 3, 4, 2 liters a day. Which is just not good for your metabolism. The fact that I did not become diabetic freak from that is amazing. I shouldn't really say that. Somebody get the wrong idea that I'm calling diabetics freaks. No, I'm referring to me. Because if I'm going to do something, that's going to go as wrong as possible. Like that little spot on my face. Well, it used to be a little piece of cancer, apparently, and they had to cut it out twice. So anyways, I gave up caffeine, and see, I knew smoking has an effect on ADHD. In fact, it's actually a self-medication technique that a lot of ADHD sufferers don't know they do. It's harder to give up smoking because when you quit, It changes your brain chemistry a little bit. Your ability to focus goes away. A number of things like that. And there's more than just nicotine in a cigarette. These e-cigs, they're mainly just nicotine and some sort of flavoring. Um, but there's quite a few other compounds that actually do have an effect on the human brain in a cigarette. These don't have nearly that. It's not a bad thing. Not as satisfying though. Tasty. This is a butterscotch one. Now, my previous experiences with e-cigs was kind of weird because I started having allergy problems. What I found out and figured out over time is what I was having. Um, See, with the butterscotch, I'm not having any problems whatsoever. With the hazelnut that I thought was so tasty, apparently huffing hazelnut flavored stuff causes some sort of allergy over time with me, um, sinus problems, and eventually to the point that to take a drag would horrible. So yeah, I ended up switching flavors, and I haven't had any problems. Um, Now like I said, I gave up caffeine, and at the same time, I was going to give up smoking. Exactly the same time, I realized probably bad choice. Let me back off on this. Let me get rid of the caffeine headaches. And it usually takes about 2 weeks for caffeine um, to have your brain to have given up on the whole caffeine idea entirely. I'm actually only, like I said, about 9 days out. So in about 7 days, actually, I quit caffeine on a Sunday, and then last Sunday I quit smoking. See, and I know the whole process for quitting smoking. It sucks. The cravings are ridiculous. Yeah, the cravings only take about 6 hours, 6 hours to kick in. I want a cigarette. I want a cigarette. You know, back of your head's just sitting there doing this the whole time. I want a cigarette. And it becomes very hard to concentrate. Um, yeah, so very annoying. But it's more than that. See, if you're ADHD, it's more than just your brain saying, I want a cigarette. It's your brain also messing with the neurotransmitters and your ability to focus. Simply put, the nicotine helps reduce that along with some of the other stuff in there. Now, I've done this before. I've quit before. This time's different. Surprisingly, I'm at 48 hours, and there's no overwhelming cravings. There's no, oh my God, I have to have a cigarette. It's it's really actually been pretty mild. And I don't know if it had something to do with giving up the caffeine first, so that my brain is already doing the slightly altered states thing, or whether it's a matter of just attitude. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so it's time to quit smoking, and yeah, 48 hours, not too bad, and really hasn't affected me too much. Now, I will say this. See, I planned ahead. Um, Another thing that can have a great effect on ADHD, if you're an ADHD sufferer, working out. Working out considerably helps. Um, Additionally, there's also a couple of amino acids like L-tyrosine. L-tyrosine can actually be used as a treatment for ADHD um, in milder cases. In certain cases, you're nothing short a methamphetamine of some sort, like Ritalin or something like that. Um, Methamphetamine, amphetamine. Um, Nothing short of them is going to help. Unfortunately for me, I don't seem to be that bad. Um, so, anyways, like yesterday, I had 3 fairly serious workouts, and it helped my focus the whole time. Not bad. So it's one of those win-wins because okay, so I give up smoking and give up caffeine, so I sleep better at night. Um, I don't have to worry about the side effects of smoking, and I'm working out all the time, so getting stronger and getting lose weight. Hey, it's win-win-win. Um, yeah. So of course you can also tell that I'm still kind of ADHD and shiny right at the moment. It's not that I'm not used to being on camera. Actually, I'm fairly used to it. Like I said, First Geek Congregation, I do about 2 hours worth of video a week, which ends up being, I think we got something like 20 hours of video, or something like that already done up. Um, than the work in progress stuff that I already do. So there's probably, I don't know, 24 hours worth of my mug on YouTube. None of it great. Don't get me wrong. I shall never be a YouTube star, and I'm okay with that. Um, but still, it's yeah. You can kind of tell on the cadence and things like that that right now I'm kind of out of it. Having shiny problems, and I have it's a lot of people talk about having ADHD and not actually understanding ADHD. ADHD isn't just a single thing. For instance, some people have ADHD and they experience moments of um, almost uncontrollable um, need to switch tasks or to follow that thing. I made a horrible choice, and here, let's do this. I'll show you what the horrible choice is. Now, keep in mind, I have actually 3 monitors in front of me right now, and so this is what the main monitor looks like right now. No, that's not it. This is it. I'm going to drop that over here. There. What's wrong with this picture? Well, you can see my monitor of myself. Okay, no problem there. But you see all those tabs in the background and all the stuff in the background? Um, yeah, that's actually not a good thing. What happens when um, you're having moments of tripping up on it is all those little distractions. It's almost impossible to go without clicking on those things. It's just the thing. I'm also seeing all the junk behind me um, that all is crying out for my attention right now. In fact, keep having a hard time focusing on the camera and not focusing on the stuff back there, and the icons on the desktop and the other monitors. So I'm very much, having an ADHD set of moments. Um, ADHD is not, hey, I started to do this and ooh, this was more interesting. That's just only a piece of ADHD. Plus, it's part of the human condition, anyways. Um, so you end up. That's what a lot of people think ADHD is. Actually, ADHD is a suite of things put together. For instance, the term hyperfocus is. I get this every once in a while. Imagine starting a task and not being able to stop. Doesn't matter what it is. Just for instance, was having problems last week. I walked into the kitchen. I was just going to do dishes real quick, and by the time I had done, now keep in mind, I was not. That wasn't what I was supposed to be working on right then. I was actually supposed to be working on a website, but I just got thrown in there. And then by the time I was done, I had scrubbed the fridge. I had scrubbed the stove, done the dishes, scrubbed the back wall, scrubbed this. There's just everything. Um, you get stuck and you get locked in on it. It's hyperfocus. Mine's not too bad. Don't get me wrong. I mentioned this. It happens. There's also disengagement. Disengagement. Imagine being slightly bored while you're driving down the road and you suddenly. That's what disengagement is with ADHD sufferers. See, I don't have that too bad. I have had. I think I've had moments with that. I don't really know. Um, Sometimes it's hard to tell if you're just tired and bored, or if you're having an actual event. I don't really know. And then on top of that, some people say, "Oh, I got ADHD and OCD." No, no, no. You got ADHD or you got OCD. There's an overlap between the two. They have a lot in common. In fact, to the point, OCD and ADHD have been misdiagnosed each other a number of times, partially because of things like hyperfocus. Hyperfocus, you'll see something like similar occur in OCD. Yeah, so I didn't expect this to become a whole long monologue on ADHD. Excuse me. um, and I don't have any problem with people that say that they're ADHD. Who cares? Or OCD. Who cares? Actually, I had made comments before about it being ADHD or OCD until I found out I actually really was ADHD. It's a polygenetic disorder. It tends to run in the family. My little sister was diagnosed with it, and while talking to the doctor, my dad, the doctor starts asking my dad some questions, and says, "Yeah, by the way, do you realize you have it too?" Huh? So my father calls me up and he says, "Hey, you want to hear something funny?" Sure. He tells me this story. He goes, "And by the way, it's genetic." Tick, tick, tick. Oh, this explains everything. He goes, "Yeah, I figured you'd find that interesting because it really does." All the questions that were asked and everything else that they provide for the test. My father, yeah, flying colors, he's got ADHD. Throwing those same questions out, including what does your desk look like? Um, yeah, yeah, pretty much falls into it too. In fact, as a matter of fact, it's a constant struggle to do things like keep your desk clean because you'll start to clean and you get off on the next thing and you get off on the next thing and you get off on the next thing. And I had a joke moment with Kat about it. She walked into the studio and I'm standing there with this big handful of cables. And she talks to me for a minute. I says, "Yeah, I know my ADHD is bad right now. Ask me what I'm doing." She goes, "Okay, what are you doing?" I'm holding these cables and says, "Well, right now, I'm updating First Geek Congregation, obviously." See, I inserted my update, and then I just started cascading because one thing on my desk caught my attention, and then the next thing caught my attention, and the next thing caught my attention, and the next thing caught my attention. See, ADHD isn't just a matter of doing that though; it's a matter of not being able to control that urge. OCD, there's no control over it. If there's a certain sequence or a certain way things have to be with OCD, you don't get to avoid it at all. Anyways, ADHD, it's a, I'm not going to say it's a preference, but things have to be in a certain order. Um, if they're out of order, you're going to end up fixing them, or it's going to drive you slightly nuts. Well, I wonder how long this thing was, because yeah, I was only going to talk for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Anyways, so this is my first attempt at this whole video blog thing, and hopefully, when I'm done, I'll have this all down pat, and this will work perfectly. Oh, and hopefully this time I've got audio. So, see you next time.